Hello, welcome back to Stylist Soul Tribe Conversations. This week's episode is yet again another replay from this year's vision casting workshop. This is day 2, which took place on January 3rd. Last week I uploaded the replay of day 1 as my weekly podcast episode, and this week we are doing day 2. So again, if you were there live, this could be a great opportunity for you to refresh. If your vision board is not created yet, now would be a great time to create it. If you were not at the vision casting workshop, or maybe this is the first video or podcast of mine that you're stumbling upon, hello. I do 2 big events per year, and every single January I host a vision casting workshop sponsored by Stylist Soul Tribe, which is my mastermind membership that I run. And we do it every January to just cast a vision for the year ahead. We met live inside of a Zoom room, which was also streamed on Facebook. So this is another long podcast episode because it's a replay. It is also a live recording. So live recordings are just kind of longer, wordier. You can hear me reading from the chat. There's other people that are chiming in. And actually on day 2, the conversation really took a different turn. The end of this recording, you'll see, is a lot about finances. We kind of went into a little hot seat almost with somebody who was there and was talking about finances. So the conversation is long, it's all over the place, but it's really valuable. A lot of people really loved it. I really loved being a part of it. So I will have all the information in the show notes from the vision casting workshop, links to the workbook, links to the Facebook group that we do all of these events in. But I just like to turn these events into podcast episodes and YouTube videos so that they're a little bit easier to find and just kind of recycle my content on all platforms. So I hope that you enjoy. And yeah, I'll let you get into the replay of day 2. If you haven't listened to day 1 yet, I would highly recommend going back and listening to day 1 first. Okay, bye. As I said yesterday, and as I said in Marco Polo, this portion of the vision casting workshop is brand new. A version of this was done at the retreat in October. So some of you have consumed some of this content. It's not the exact same, but I'm looking forward to diving into all this. In the past years, I have really had the vision casting workshop be about mindset and vision and about crafting your morning routine, which we talked all about yesterday. It's been more woo focused. We had a breathwork session yesterday. I love all of that. But a lot of people, it feels really good in the moment. It feels really good for the few days that we're here together for the vision casting workshop. And then we find ourselves 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months into the year, and we've never really cracked it open again. Or like we look at our vision board, but there's no plan of action to make it happen. So I wanted to add a layer of that into the vision casting workshop. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to really take what we envisioned and what we dreamed, and we had so many prompts yesterday about, one, we reflected on what we really liked, but then what do we want 2025 to look like moving forward? What kind of trips do we want to take? What kind of numbers do we want to hit in our business? What kind of relationships do we want to foster? What do we want 2025 to look like? And now I want to take that vision, that end goal, that finish line, and reverse engineer that and break that up into bite-sized pieces so that we feel really ready to go and equipped with, I know what I need to do, not only for the year, but for the next 6 months, for the next 3 months, for the next month, for the next week, for the next day. I really want to try to work in habits and rituals and goals and work that in. If you guys have peeked at the workbook, you've probably seen the vibe of that. So yesterday we crafted our visions. Today, let's make a plan to bring them to life. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is outcome goals versus habit goals. So outcome goals are the results that you want to achieve. They are the big picture milestones, like launch a new product, reach 6-figure income, or lose 20 pounds. These goals define what success looks like for you. Habit goals are the daily actions that lead to your outcome. They focus on the consistent behaviors that build momentum. Spend 15 minutes a day brainstorming product ideas, track expenses weekly, or exercise for 30 minutes 5 days a week. Yesterday, I asked you guys what you were the most proud of. I scrolled back through the chat this morning just to see the most proud of in 2025. You guys said things like buying a building, launching a membership, opening a salon. You broke six figures finally. You earned a price increase. You bought your dream home. You hit PRs while working out. You booked trips, 57 pounds lost, hiring your first team member, doubling your income, a kitchen remodel. We have all of these things that we're really proud of, and we probably wrote down things for 2025 that we want to achieve. And I think some of us, we also had things like the amount of time I spent with my family, how I showed up for my kids. And I obviously love that side of it too. And I love that the vision casting workshop balances those things so well. But you guys also probably came up with numbers that you want to hit in 2025, really tangible outcomes. And the hard thing about that, and why I find us getting discouraged at the end of the year, is you can't just say, I want to lose 70 pounds and put it on a vision board. And then, okay, now that's going to happen. You have to figure out what actions need to be taken and what habits need to be formed and what actual steps need to get taken so that it can actually happen. So rather than really putting outcome goals, we can put them on our vision board. I think that's fine, but I really think we need to spend some time breaking them down and deciding what habit is needed or what behaviors are needed, what benchmarks need to be hit so that it can actually happen. So I'd love to spend some time. I'm on this page of the workbook, outcome versus habit goals. I'd love to identify an outcome goal. What is one big milestone that you want to achieve this year? So something that should have came up for you yesterday. I'd love to do some shares around this. And then we can work together. What is a habit goal that can support that? So what daily or weekly actions will help you get there? So again, going back to my biggest thing I was the most proud of, somebody said opening a salon. Taking that from an outcome goal and turning it into a habit goal. What needs to happen in order to open a salon? First of all, we can't help but think about finances. Is that possible? Licensing. What kind of team do you need around you? Do you need to speak to a realtor? Do you need to speak to a banker? Do you need to speak to a lender? Do you need to speak to a general contractor? Do you need to work on your team building skills? What do you need to do to make those goals a reality? So I'd love to spend some time on that. I'm gonna just take a peek at you guys and see who's sitting down in front of their computer and paying attention. And I'd love to do this together and break through some of these. Leslie, can you give me an example of what an outcome goal for 2025 that you created yesterday? Can you give me an example of anything that you came up with?
Let me see which one I'm okay with sharing. Oh, shoot. Way to put me on the spot here. Would that be something like what I'm going to do as far as getting more coaching clients and things like that?
Yeah, like how many coaching clients do you want? That would be an outcome goal because that's the outcome, right?
Yep. So I was thinking that I would try and find two more so that then we could start and be done by March. And then that way I would have three a quarter.
Okay, so
So
that's 12. No, that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 3 a quarter, 3, 6, 9. So yeah, 12
of a
coaching
year to see.
clients. Yep.
And then, so then I guess the first thing is what days would I offer them as far as availability? So I know that I can fit them in on Mondays and Fridays because I already
Mm-hmm.
have one on Wednesdays.
Yep.
So then the habits that I would need to create in order to support that would have to be to create more captions and more marketing materials
Marketing.
so that then I can post consistently so that people
Mhm.
know that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And so then I would have to set aside time so that I could write those. So I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking Sunday afternoons while the baby naps.
Love. So you're thinking weekly is when marketing takes place.
Yep.
Yep. So breaking that down, it happens weekly. So this is what we're going to move into quarterly. So like quarter one, two, three, and four, those pages. So you can write like goal of one new coaching client on each month or each quarter. You can break that down. And then you're going to go into your perfect week template, which we'll dive into here soon. And you're going to put Sundays as the day that marketing takes place. And really think about all the different outcome goals and then break those down. How does that actually need to play out when it comes to your time? Annette, I'd love to hear from you. What's an example of an outcome goal that you came up with yesterday?
Oh goodness.
Sorry, putting you all on the spot.
Be honest, I feel like mine finding the right habits and routines
Mhm.
just to take better care of myself.
Okay. Outcome goal would say taking better care of yourself. What would the outcome of that be? You feel better? Is there a certain result that happens when all of that takes place?
Yes, I feel better. I'm in less pain.
Outcome is less pain. How does that break down for you?
Actually exercising.
And how often do you want to do that?
Probably need to be in the habit of 4 or 5 days a week.
Okay. And then deciding maybe what those days are, what rest days are, and filling that out in your perfect week template.
Mhm.
I think that could
Yes.
be helpful. It's been a little while since our last Soul Tribe call. I know when I asked you yesterday what your goal was or what you're most looking forward to in 2025, you also said finding a space. Are we like signed on something or we're still in the works? Yeah. So
Still in the
even
work.
that is an outcome goal. And my goodness, I hope it happens by quarter 1 and you don't have to be dealing with this quarter 2, 3, or 4. But even that, you can decide for now, for this, what are like those needle movers that you can be doing every single day right now to work towards that until that's been hit, and then we shift that. Samantha said, can I challenge you to change your words from need to work out to want to work out? I think that's a good idea, Samantha. Thank you. So you want to feel better. So to do that, you want to work out 4 or 5 days a week. What exactly is that going to look like? Take all the guesswork out of it, take all the questions out of it, and plug that into the quarters and then the weeks and then the days. Samantha, what's an outcome goal that you had?
This is a struggle for me because I don't dream well.
Samantha left a Marco Polo about how she's doing her vision board a little bit different. And her word of the year she has decided is expansion. And she's leaving a lot of space because she doesn't know exactly what that expansion is, but she's very open to receiving that. So just wanted to give the breakdown of that because I know you say you're not very good at dreaming, but.
I'm not because I don't like it's always left very wide open.
Hmm.
I have done really well with owning a word because last year was clear,
Mm.
but it was clear on every level of the meaning of clear, and just allowing that to umbrella the year
Mm-hmm.
allowed things to fall into place rather than me trying to control them.
What are the few things you have on your board that you originally put on at the retreat? I know it's simple and it is clear, and I like that.
So I don't know how well you can see this.
Yeah,
And
list what each one is as you're looking at it.
two people doing like yoga in nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's a resistance band.
What is that one, the two people doing that in nature? What does that mean to you? Why did you choose that?
I don't know. It spoke to me.
Okay.
That's another one that I'm just gonna let come to however it's gonna come to. A resistance band around feet is like represented flexibility.
Okay.
And then and then the picture of the woman with the dog in the fall leaves because that's just my life on a regular basis. And then there were like cutouts of words. So one of the words was completed. One of them is financially free, but I think I want that to be fire. Financially independent, retire early. And then forgive yourself and set yourself free. You are loved, you are strong, you are capable, you are valid. Yeah, you have to run, don't stop.
Mm.
And the one that you had me add was
Okay.
it's safe for me to be loved.
There's an outcome goal in the Facebook chat when you are ready to get it. Thank you, Leisha. Let me see what's happening in Facebook. Okay, I'll get to Melissa. Love it. Okay, so Samantha, I'm trying to decide which one I want to dive into because I love using these as like true examples because I think this is going to be helpful. So let me ask a few clarifying questions. Flexibility, is that physically or metaphorically?
Oh,
Okay. Retire early. Are you currently on track to do that? Have you fully reverse engineered that from finish line to today or no?
I have an investment program that I have investments in, but my retirement date is like 72.
So what I would say is, what do you want that number to be when you say retire early? What does that mean to you?
Justin plans to retire at 56.
Okay,
I
so if you could also be 56 or 55, that'd be cool. Okay. So I think then long-term reverse engineering, because I'm a big fan of that, plugging in the age of 55, figuring out what that number needs to be, and reverse engineering to figure out exactly how much that means you have to put in every single week, month, year, whatever it is you want it to be. And maybe for now, the bit of that is getting with a new financial planner or something where at least there's something taking place. But I don't want you to say it can't happen because it can. It just might be an uncomfortable number for you right now. But then that can also be reverse engineered? How does that number get higher? What does that need to look like? What does that have to do? I think that would be a good place to start. And even if that weekly or monthly or quarterly, where you plug it in, is meet with whatever that course is or whoever that person is and decide that 2025 is the year, so that at least by the end of 2025, you can say the retirement age is no longer 72. The number is bigger. And now the goal is how to get the income up to match that number. But it's going to happen. It can happen. You have plenty of time. I think just deciding that this is the year. I hate when people live their whole life just saying the story of I'll never be able to retire, especially when you're young. Don't stop that reality. Same thing you said to Annette about I have to work out versus I get to work out. I think you can do a major mindset shift on that as well.
I've really been working on it. So I'm in a
Yeah.
much, much better place than I have been. There's other steps that need to be taken first in order to free up more money to invest.
Okay. Yeah. So then reverse engineering that, breaking that down, plugging that into the calendar. I put, just because I remember our experience at the retreat when you were listing all those things, I put friendship, question mark, yoga, question mark, flexibility we have, dogs we have. But I think all of these things, what shows up on your vision board is what is important to you. So as you're going through this quarterly overview of the year and then weekly, making sure those things are plugged in. And that's what that perfect day or perfect week template can look like. Melissa said financial literacy, growing from basics to implementing, investing, and building wealth. Melissa, I love that. I know you already told me you're planning on joining Soul Tribe again this season. Melissa's been in and she already filled out her application. She plans on joining again this season, but I said it on my Instagram story a few days ago. We're going to do something really exciting in May and June with Larry, who is going to share a lot about budgeting, financial literacy, things like that. Okay, I want to keep doing these breakdown and I really want to keep working with you guys. I love doing it in this way, but I realize that I'm jumping ahead and I haven't fully explained the rest of the workbook. So I think I should finish explaining and then I think we should go into really breaking through all of these with each other. So, like I said, reverse engineering your vision board, turn your big dreams into actionable steps by breaking them down into quarterly and monthly milestones. Identify the key goals, choose 3 to 5 major goals from your vision board. Set milestones, break each goal into smaller milestones to track your progress. Quarterly focus, plan what needs to happen each quarter to stay on track. Quarter 1, lay the foundation. Quarter 2, build momentum. Quarter 3, make major strides. Quarter 4, celebrate success, whatever that needs to look like. Like I said, for Annette, quarter 1 can be in new space, but then what needs to happen between now and then? And then once we're in the new space, what does quarter 4 look like or something like that? Monthly actions, break milestones into specific tasks for each month, and then commit and adjust. Take consistent action and adapt as needed to stay aligned with your vision. The most important thing right now is finding a new space. So my needle movers every single day are going to be 5 new outreach calls, another conversation with my realtor, an offer letter here, some negotiations here, but something needs to be happening each day. But then obviously once that's done, her perfect week and her perfect day template are going to look very different because then that's done. So that's where that adjustment needs to come in. So I think sitting down with this pretty regularly will be very helpful. So what does your perfect week look like? Your perfect week is a guide to balancing your schedule, aligning your habits, and making time for what matters most. This template helps you design a week that reflects your goals and priorities. So how to use the perfect week template. So again, we have the outcome versus habit goal. So you can do this over and over again with every single thing that came up on your vision board. Take it through this same almost machine of, okay, here's the goal. How do I break that down? And then we have quarter 1, annual intentions, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And then we have the perfect week template. So map out your daily schedule. So what days are you working behind the chair? Right now, if you're behind the chair nonstop and there's no time for any of the other things to do, I think templating this perfect week, even if it's very far away from what your existing schedule is right now, I think making the template, and maybe you print out a few of just this page and you make the template, and then maybe you make 3 other versions of stepping stones to eventually get to that template. Maybe quarter 1, you cut 2 evenings, and then quarter 2, you cut your Saturdays, and then quarter 3, you're finally down to your dream schedule or something like that. Decide when it's going to happen and follow through with it. Weekly tasks, assign key tasks like admin work, marketing, planning, or content creation to specific days. We've already talked about that with Leslie. Lucia and Kristen were asking Kimber and Larry about their content calendar and their monthly retail promotions. And they said that they plan that at the beginning of the year. They get in touch with their distributors to see what sales are already going on with their product line. So get a marketing calendar from your distributors and then plug that into each one of these months and say, okay, I know in March, Davin is doing this promo. I'm going to plug that in so we can match that. So I'm not spending money. So marketing, all of the different things that fall into our life, we can plug into these templates. Add non-negotiables, include essentials like family time, personal appointments, and white space for rest and reflection. I was going to work at the coffee shop for a couple hours and then I was going to go do a client in the salon. She's like, ooh, the coffee shop sounds so good. Like, I really need to prioritize that more. I'm like, plug it in, do it once a week. And so she went into her calendar, into her like where she books with clients, and she put one Monday a month. She put coffee time so she knows that kids are going to childcare. She's going to schedule her deep work during that time that can happen in the coffee shop. So decide what you want those things to be. Incorporate habits and routines, schedule your morning and evening rituals, self-care practices, and movement. So we talked about a lot of those things about self-care, things we want to be doing to take care of ourselves. Where do those fall in? Are they happening once a week? Are they happening once a month? Whenever they're happening, make sure they're either plugged into the perfect week template or that annual overlook and which month they're taking place. Identify your peak productivity window. Note when you're most focused and energized during the day and reserve that time for high priority tasks. So you'll see that down here. My peak productivity window, without a doubt, is 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Just so happens to be that's when this call is on because that's when I know it works for me. I'm up at 5. My kids are up and moving for hours, but I know even when they have school and they start school at 8, I jump into serious productivity from 10 to 2. My Oura ring matches it. It tells me that that is truly when I'm the most productive. But that's going to be different for everybody. For some people, that's 9 a.m. to midnight. For some people, that's 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's going to be different for everybody, but I think it's just important to just note naturally what is your peak productivity window, and then knowing that information about yourself, how can you craft your life to really reflect that? Review for balance. Again, ensure your week reflects your goals, leaves room for flexibility, and feels manageable. So you guys have this template now. You can make as many of these as you need to, and this perfect week can get adjusted regularly. Perfect day template. Your perfect day is about creating a daily rhythm that aligns with your goals, supports your energy, and keeps you focused on what matters most. Use this template to design a day that feels intentional and fulfilling. How to use the perfect day template. Morning rituals. Start your day with habits that ground and inspire you, which we talked a lot about yesterday. Journaling, movement, meditation. Daily priorities. Identify 1 to 3 key tasks or needle movers to focus on. So this is something that I like to do in my morning pages of just, if my day went perfect, here's the things that I bang out today. Just checking in, being intentional again. Does it happen every single day? Does the day sometimes get away from me? Absolutely. But I think that having those needle movers and those daily priorities and intentions every single morning is extremely helpful. Time blocks. Organize your day into focused blocks of time for work, creativity, and breaks. Align tasks with your peak productivity window when your energy is highest. Non-negotiables. Schedule essential personal and professional commitments like client appointments, family time or meals, evening rituals. Wind down with habits. So this is that perfect morning starts at night. Wind down with habits that prepare you for a restful night, like reflecting on the day, setting intentions for tomorrow, or reading. I want you guys to take everything that you wrote about yesterday, and I want to start really plugging this in. I think I might be, yeah. So I want to now go through and do what I started doing with Leslie, Annette, and Samantha. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them now. So Amy Weckman, can I move on to you because you're next on my screen? What's an example of an outcome goal or something that came up that's really important for you this year, and how can we plug that in and reverse engineer that into our calendar?
Let's go with, someone already did building a healthy. How about truly present?
Truly present. Okay. So outcome, I think you have done the work already there. Outcome would be like, I don't know, the
I feel-
result of what being truly present is. So what does that break down to, and when do you feel truly present? What does that perfect kind of alignment look like for you? What are those daily touch-ins where you need to do that?
I think like sticking firm to work hours and family
Mhm.
hours. I know I really need to listen to my timer when it says I have enough social media for the day.
What is your schedule right now when it comes to work versus family? What does that look like?
I'm behind the chair Mondays from 10 to 4:30, Tuesdays 9 to 2, and then Wednesdays 9 to 3, and then office days on Thursday whenever everybody's gone.
What time is the office day?
From about, I'd say 9 to 1:30, 2 o'clock.
And do you feel like you stick with that right now? Or what makes you feel like you're not truly present? Or are you? You just want to, it's intentional and you want to keep it up.
I definitely I'm more intentional now, but I also realize I get off track really easily. So maybe being more intentional with my tasks for the day.
Yeah, like maybe if you had that list already prepared, and it's hard to do that obviously for the year, but maybe if Monday you start work at 10, at 9:30 or at 9, or maybe Thursday at 1:15 when you end your office hours, you write that new fresh list so that when the next week rolls around, you know to stick with that, right?
Yep.
And plug those in ahead of time so that you're not just getting off track and losing it.
Yeah, I also made a planner too where it has an hourly. So that way, if I do have gaps in my schedule behind the chair, I'm
Mhm.
purposely filling them. So
Love.
I'm hoping that also helps out.
Yeah, and how often are you looking at that planner right now?
It just started.
So maybe even decide what day are you looking at that first thing in the morning? Maybe that's part of your morning ritual. Are you looking at that at night for the day before, but just plugging that in
Yeah,
advance?
I've been trying to do it in the morning when everybody's not awake, and
Love.
that way I can brain dump it.
If you want to share that planner, did you just make it on Canva?
No, I did. It was, oh shoot, what is this called? Agendio.
Okay, feel free to put that inside the Marco Polo group. I'm sure other people would love that, and maybe even like a breakdown of how you're going about that. Because there's so many options, but we also have to just like test and taste. And I think what works for me isn't going to be the same as what works for someone else, and vice versa. I love all of the different options. Cool, amazing. Lisa Atkins, what is an outcome goal that you have for 2025?
I want to be more consistent with my clients.
What
Feel
does
like
that
I've been focusing on other things
Okay.
than doing that.
What is that? That's just like your guest experience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you have that very clearly written out and listed somewhere so you know to follow it?
I do, but I think I need to rewrite it because I think
Okay.
my thoughts have changed on how I want things to be.
Yeah.
So I did write down create SOP for client experience. And
Yeah,
then
and
I
an
think,
SOP is obviously something that happens over and over again. So once that's like
yeah,
creating the SOP is not going to be something that can get plugged into one of these templates. But then once that SOP is created, that can get plugged into maybe the perfect day looks like. We start the day with whatever the towel warm or whatever it needs to look like going into the salon, really getting clear on that.
yeah,
What are some other outcome goals you have?
taking care of ourselves, like both me and my husband. I'd like for us to get massages and maybe
Mm.
chiropractor appointments regularly because
Is
we
that
know
monthly? Is that quarterly? How often is
monthly.
that? Monthly. So plug that in.
Yeah,
Pick what day that's going to be happening and either schedule them way in advance or just put the day, put it in your own calendar, then decide what day you're calling to make that appointment. I love that. Before we know it, a few months goes by and it's, oh, I intended to do that every single month. I love that.
yes.
Cool. Paloma, what's an outcome goal that you have?
It's a big one. Develop systems and understanding of my finances, both in business and in personal.
Okay. And then how do you start to reverse engineer that?
I just do my bookkeeping weekly. I start my retirement, monitor and track spending, start a high yield savings account, identify recurring payments, and educate myself on the numbers and what they mean, which is a bunch of stuff that I'm like, I'm just gonna have to chuck away at it every week and pick something. The bookkeeping I want to do every week. I was doing it monthly, but it takes.
What day and time are you going to do that at?
I'd like to give you that. I have to deal with Steven too and developing new times that I could work because the regular schedule is not working anymore.
Mm,
But like ideally everything happens on Mondays and it's not enough time. I
yeah,
don't have
done.
Yeah, and like Wednesdays we've agreed is a no work day. And then on the other days I'm going to the salon. I have to find times with him that work for us. So Mondays for sure.
Mondays.
Yeah.
Well, and I love to like habit stack it with something else, especially if it's something that you don't like doing. So it's really easy for you to push it off. You're used to pushing it off. What's another week of pushing it off? We don't have to get too into this because clearly I think Steven's giving you a little bit of a hard time with your time right now. So this might be a right now issue, not a forever issue. But is that something that he would want to participate with as well? It has to get done.
And I was like, do you want to help me figure this out? But both of us are on really different ideas of how things work. I'm very like every dollar is assigned, and this is the whole pot. It doesn't matter where it comes from. I work in waves of inspiration, or like when the momentum strikes, I'll start something and then I have to just keep going. Because I can't just cut it off at 2 hours. Oh, your time's done. No, I want to finish this. Like I feel the inspiration right now. I want to get it done, which also makes it difficult because then I'm sitting on my computer all day.
I know, and I totally feel that too. That's how my creative process is. I really can't schedule it in perfectly, like when it hits, and I can't fight it. But I also think sometimes we get a little bit psychotic with how much we want to organize things as well too. So I think allowing for some like flexibility, like I think we all love our planners, we love all of these things, but I think what has helped with me, and that's why just allowing white space in the calendar, like true white space where it can get filled once the week comes in front of you, but rather than having like every hour and every time accounted for, I think that can be helpful. Can't help when inspiration strikes for me. I just need to design my life in a way where I'm not tied to behind the chair, tied to Soul Tribe calls, or tied to something all hours of the week so that there's flow and flex for those creative kind of hits. Megan said, loving this conversation. I'm listening, but I don't have the opportunity to be called on, so please don't. Caitlin, do you have an outcome goal that you want to share that we can reverse engineer a little bit?
Sure. I was actually just typing this out for Paloma really quick if I could just say it while I'm before
do it.
so I was gonna recommend I don't know if it will resonate for you specifically, but something that I've really gotten into in the last year is doing all of my really low energy or like low creativity tasks on Mondays, specifically because Mondays are not my best day. Like those are the days that I'm like, oh my God, like I'm very low energy, very tired, or like even lining it up cyclically. If I'm in like my, what is it, luteal phase, all of that stuff, like when you are more low energy. So for me, a lot of the time that's on Mondays, obviously throughout the month as well. But so maybe even just like prioritizing your Mondays, if those are when you need to get some like primary tasks done. If you are in that zone too, where Mondays are like a more low energy day or whatever day of the week it might be, getting some of those tasks done as well. And then those are like the like priority tasks as well, which I feel like I'm at least doing enough on Mondays, even though I don't want to do anything, if that makes sense. That's just something that I've done that I'd recommend.
And what are some examples of low priority tasks?
So for me, a lot of it is number tracking, bookkeeping throughout the month. I'll download and do my QuickBooks stuff, get like invoices and stuff like that figured out, analytics tracking. I have a couple of different like email marketing tracking. I'll track like my numbers for that. I'll track numbers for social media, stuff like that. So it's all stuff that I don't really have to put a ton of thought into. I just have to look stuff up and write it down essentially. It'll look different for everyone, obviously, but bookkeeping, especially, I hate doing it, but I know I can do it. I just have to dedicate the time to it. So Mondays are usually when I do it.
Yeah. When you are in the creative flow, you run with it, but recognizing the times when you aren't, and rather than being like, oh, I'm not creative, I can't do anything for my business, do the tasks that aren't creative, like the numbers during those periods of time. I love that. I've been saying for years, I feel like now we need a master class on something with cycle tracking or something. I do think it is very fascinating. Megan said, so not necessarily low priority, but more like low creative. Yes, is that
Exactly.
okay, Caitlin? Yeah.
Exactly. There was somebody that I've been following for a long time who adopted the phrase bare minimum Monday. And that's what I've adopted with that as well. Is like,
BMM, I love that.
yeah, I was like, all I have to do today is the bare minimum. And for whatever reason, tracking numbers and stuff like that always felt like the best thing to do because I don't feel like writing emails. I don't feel like making content, any of that stuff on Mondays.
What is your most creative day, Caitlin?
I feel like it normally comes midweek and it can be
Okay.
any day midweek, honestly. So it could be
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday.
Interesting.
But it's definitely not on Fridays either because I'm usually just okay, I gotta get all my shit done before the weekend.
Yeah. Leslie said I had my tubes removed and I've started tracking myself a light week the week and before cycle. I didn't think that I could track it, and then I saw that post and I started, and I did the Stardust and my aura at the same time, and they are now cycled up, and it tells me that I'm in the same phase. And even like the other day I was really not feeling a workout, and Ryan asks, I sent him a screenshot before of some of the symptoms that Stardust says. He's like, why don't you check and see? And sure enough, it said low motivation, majorly self-critical, like those were common symptoms. I'm like, it does track. That's fascinating. Do you have any goals that you want to reverse engineer, Caitlin, or focus you want to shift for 2025?
So I wrote a couple down. So I would love to bring in 25K with my personal business. But a lot of that is not necessarily like daily tasks, if that makes sense. All of the daily tasks lead up to that. Yeah, I guess I don't know.
Do you feel stuck when it comes to reverse engineering, or do you know how to do that? Because I think you totally can break that down.
I understand how to do it, but I don't necessarily think that it's all going to be like, okay, I do this each day to get me to this goal, if that makes sense. Like a lot of it is, okay, I need to do this, and then at some point I'm going to need to do this. So like for bringing in that much money, okay, I need to get more subscribers. Or I need to have more like eyes on my stuff, or I need to collaborate with more businesses, just more marketing in general, stuff like that.
But even that 25K, I think that could be beneficial. So like that broken down into, let's call it four is what? 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's call it 12, 8,000, let's call it per quarter even. Yeah, that's roughly math could work. So 8,000 per quarter, then like even deciding, that's how Alicia and I came up with this vision casting workshop and the resource fair. When the intensive falls, it's those quarterly pushes to bring cash flow in. Do you have anything laid out like that?
I have goals, but they aren't like written down, if that makes sense. I keep them all in my head.
Are you wanting to pull it through all the rest of this quarterly plan, and then what those weekly and daily, so whether it's monthly, you need to collaborate, maybe a list of names per month with who that collaboration is, maybe weekly outreach or weekly planning your posts, things like that. I love that. Awesome. All right. Anyone else want to share some big outcome goals? Jessica, I remember you were in Marco Polo saying that you really got the personal stuff down in 2024. What are some big things for you in 2025 that you have
One
on
of
the
my
horizon?
things to dial in on this year is just like some numbers stuff as far
Okay.
as service sales, retail, all that stuff. Planning for 170K gross income, 100 service sales, 20K retail, 19K tips, and I want to do $2,000 in add-ons throughout the year. So I've broken that down by daily goal,
Love.
with hopefully sticking to my 3-day schedule really consistently, because that's something you helped me with over summer, which I've been doing most
Good.
not all the time. I work 4 days still sometimes because it's
Okay.
hard. I want to really do that, and breaking it down day by day, it does seem
Doable.
doable.
And are you looking at those days ahead of time, or are you tracking those after? Or how are you not just like getting lost and all of a sudden 4 or 5 weeks have passed? Like, how are you tracking that?
That's a good question.
That's where I feel like we have these like concepts so clear, and then sometimes time just goes on and we get lost in it. So a few ideas I have for you. Shout out to Ashley Napier, the very first masterclass ever created in Stylist Soul Tribe years ago, and it's still one of my most recommended masterclasses, is the monthly money mapping masterclass. And she sits down. You can do this weekly, monthly, daily. Honestly, I'd probably say both. I'd say do it for the month, then do it for the week, and then look at it each, especially the 3 days a week that you're behind the chair. And Ashley had a planner that she showed us, and she would look at her schedule and add up what people are already booked for. And then she'd write down what her projected are going to be for the month, for the week, for the day. So what is the projected total? And then have all those numbers, add that up. Does that hit your goals? Let's say it doesn't. Say your goal is, just for easy math, I'm going to say, let's say your goal for the week is $5,000. And right now with your services, you're about 3,800 is what you're scheduled for. So then the money mapping is saying, okay, Caitlin comes in on Tuesday. Right now, she's scheduled for this service. What can I do to bump that up? And thinking about it ahead of time. What add-ons can I do? What retail can I sell her? Let me go back and look and see what retail she's bought within the last however long, and be prepped and ready, and maybe do that on a monthly basis. And then when the week comes around, take a closer look at it. What's the projected totals? What have I already hit so far this month? So then say maybe we're week 2 into the month and you surpassed 5K last week. You can now, you're projected for, again, let's say 3,800, but you only need to hit 43 because you surpassed that. So how can you like actually plug in the math and do that? And is every single client going to say yes to these add-ons? And retail, no, but it works way better when you're crystal clear. And then Lisa comes in and you're like, Lisa, I was thinking about you. I know we're doing a root touch up today. You're going to have to process for 45 minutes anyway. What if we just added a little bit of face frame around the face? There's so much more likely when you're like, I was thinking about you, I have this in mind, or you're already like in your head dialed in about retail. You're hyper aware of their pain points that they're sharing during the appointment because the retail, you're ready to try to sell them. So it's just a very like intentional. Hunter has something like this in MSM too. Yeah, Ashley called it money mapping. And I think that would be a good way to stay on top of that too. And then if you ever do fall short, like I know a lot of people in Soul Tribe experience that this year, like June comes around and they're like, shit, I'm not at my halfway point. What do I need to do to make it happen? Tabitha Osmond sent me a polo like the day before Christmas. I was like, it's a Christmas miracle. Somehow I pulled it off because she was very close to not hitting her goals, but just staying super on top of it and deciding what day of the week that those actions take place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like something that I'm also going to be focusing on is when I started working 3 days a week, I was like, okay, that off day is going to be my admin. And I just started, I'm like, no, it's my day off and I'm going to go on a walk and I'm going to do what feels good.
Yep.
Because it makes me personally happy. And it's
Yeah.
time to crack down and actually make the routines of doing that consistently so I don't get lost in it.
Yeah. And I like having white space too. Like I said, I live for my white space and I live for that freedom and flexibility. But I think deciding what things need to be done first so that when that day comes around, you bang out the few things you have to do and then you have the rest of the day to go wherever the wind blows you, right?
Yeah, which helps me anyways, because then it reduces the mental clutter and you can actually relax more.
Yeah. I was going to say another masterclass, and I hate that I'm forgetting it because I said Ashley's and then I had another one in mind. If it comes back to me, I'm sure when I'm watching the replay, it will come back to me. Melissa said, yes, please, Ashley. Melissa remembers when Ashley made that very first. Ashley, is there anything you would add to that? Or you can give us a little micro masterclass right now. It says you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Are you connected to like AirPods or something? Nobody can hear Ashley, right? What's going on with your audio? No, I can't hear you. Dang it. That's all right. Yeah, I want to know what you have to say, but if I can't hear you, I can't hear you. That's all right. Yeah, you finish out your mic or figure out your mic, Ash, and if you figure out what that is and you have something you want to add in, feel free to unmute or type it in the chat or something. Because yeah, it says you're unmuted. It doesn't say you're muted, but I can't hear you. Nobody can hear you. Weird. Okay. Melanie, what's coming up for you?
I have an extension of what I started because I did get to do the class at the retreat. Sorry, coffee hasn't kicked in. I'm a little.
All right. You're also on the West Coast. Yeah.
And that breath work last night knocked my ass out. I slept through my alarm.
How did that go for you?
Oh, it was amazing. I was super self-conscious doing the lion breath. I'm like, oh great, we're being recorded with my tongue hanging out. And
I don't know if Mila knew this, but when she pinned herself, you can't see anyone else in the recording, which I love. You can only see her screen and her, which I love.
I thought it would be funny to go back and just laugh at it because you got to laugh at stuff that's embarrassing, right?
That's why I had to turn my camera off because I just wanted to experience it. And as much as I know she probably loves seeing people too in the way that as well.
Yeah. So my big theme for everybody was retirement, like just actually being okay with that word because I fought against it. I really pushed back against that.
Fair to say you create an identity around it? Because I think a lot of people have that.
Yeah. And it just, so just embracing that. And Britt, my Soul Tribe 17 sister, who is just amazing, just came out with the best advice and said retirement is just being able and wanting to work, not having to work.
Yes.
And that it reframed everything I thought about.
Absolutely.
Mine is about money, like making my money work better, tracking my spending, which seems to be for a lot of us what we're doing. So I had a lot of things already plugged into my calendar and they are already panning out. I have how to maximize my IRA. I have a meeting scheduled for this Monday. I've been talking with my accountant, who's also my friend, but we have a meeting 2 weeks from Monday. And we're also looking at I'm paring down expenses I went through and wrote down every single thing I spend money on every month and just highlighted everything. Do I really need this? Do I really want this? Do I even really use this?
Yep.
Yeah. The food, even just how much I spend outside the house, making my own coffee, doing things like that, like paring everything down for a purpose because I want to travel more. So having that why actually helps me do the numbers. And as far as the time, Mondays are typically the day I do it because I turn into kind of a 2-year-old on the weekend. I live my life and have for 30 plus years now on a schedule, literally every hour. So it drives some of my friends nuts because they're like, do you want to go to breakfast? Sure. What time should we go? I'll call you.
Yeah, let's just go with the flow. I'll get in touch with you in the morning.
On the weekend, but Monday is good. It's typically midday for me where I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Let's do it. And that's when I will sit down and start plugging things. Sometimes it's 8 o'clock at night. I'm more of a night owl. So
it's when it hits you. Yeah. Love.
But I've been having Monday as my day to do that.
So I remember our last time we talked, that first financial advisor was a flop. So you put on your homework to find another one, which I was proud of you for not just throwing in the towel because it could have been easy to do that. Have you found somebody new, or is that still on the priority list?
Yeah, that's the appointment I have Monday.
Okay, good. Love that. So yeah, we got to get that set up and ready to go. Samantha put in the chat, retirement is freedom to live your life and follow your dreams with flexibility. I'm really a big Dave Ramsey fan. My YouTube really shows me his content a lot, and I really do like him. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard him talk about retirement, but he's in his 60s now. He has every ability to retire. He's clearly shifting kind of his brand and his network so that he can step away and pass it off. But he said eventually, so right now he's still owner. He's bringing on these personalities that are part of his business. But then even once he's no longer owner and CEO, he's just going to become a personality of the Ramsey company. And he's still going to do radio calls because that's how he wants to spend his time. I've heard him talk about that before. I've heard Kris Jenner talk about it before. These people are worth nearly billions of dollars and they still choose. Kris Jenner says it all the time. She's going to work till the day that she dies because that's her passion and that's like how she wants to spend her time. And I find that so fascinating. Now, I don't know how I'm going to feel when I'm 60, 70, 80 years old. And I may want to just lay my ass in the sand and not work. But also, like, when you have, this might have been how you felt about retirement, Melanie. You're like, I don't want to just stop doing this. I love what I do. It's almost as if you don't love what you're currently doing is why you're pushing towards retirement. And I agree. I'd rather just choose to spend my time how I want to, even if it's doing the exact same thing I had done for the last 30, 40 years, but have the money and the freedom and the flexibility with my life however I want once that time comes.
I really do think it centers and revolves around my 2-year-old mentality of if you tell me I have to, I don't want to. But if I don't have to, then I'll embrace it more because I really do. I love doing hair. The last 2 weeks I have been off. I wound up going in a couple of days because there are a few people that I'm like, oh, I can't fit you in, but I really want to do your hair. And it was more, I love.
Sometimes it feels like you're getting paid to hang out with your friend. Yeah,
exactly.
Why would I not do that?
Yeah.
I love that. And Melissa put in the chat on Facebook too, I want to work till I'm 80. I love it. And I remember having this conversation with Mel at the retreat. And some of you have probably heard me say this. One, my husband has been, I don't know, just really into it for many years now. So I think a little bit of him has rubbed off on me. Ryan is incredibly prepared for retirement. And I make a joke every single morning when he drives to work, when I'm pulling my Oracle cards and when I'm doing all my weird woo shit, he's literally checking his retirement account. He checks it every single day. He checks his bank account, retirement account. Like, he's very into it. So I think some of that has rubbed off on me, but neither of my parents are going to be ready for retirement. They're both 62, going to be 63. I know I've told Ryan that he needs to come on and talk about those things a little bit. And he's absolutely not. I'm like, you don't understand. Even just a version of what you think about it really could rub off. Because it has rubbed off on me. So I guess I'm just going to have to channel him and bring it over. But neither of my parents are ready for retirement in any way, shape, or form. They had accounts, the recession happened, divorce happened, things happened. But I also think that people take on that identity. Even like my mother-in-law, she makes incredible money. She does so good for herself. She just, it rolls out of her mouth as if she's like breathing. Oh, I'll never retire. I'll never retire. She just affirms it over and over again. And I think people just take on that identity. And so I'm so passionate about it, not because I'm like poo on all these people in my life, but I know I don't sleep good at night because people in my life have not prepared for that, and that stresses me out. And I wish that wasn't something that I had, but I was telling Melanie that you can't just keep putting it off. If you're not going to do it for you, please, for the love of God, do it for Rose, do it for me, because I'm going to be worried. And I just think if you have people in your life that you love and that you care about, you are doing harm to those people by not taking care of yourself. It is your responsibility to do that. So when a time comes around that you don't have the ability to do that, you're good. And the people that love you can rest well at night knowing that you're good. That's my little tangent and why I'm so passionate about that. Anna said, or Leslie said, I use the monthly calendar pages to plan on my income based on what's happening that month and what we usually hit for revenue based on seasons. Do you want to tell us what you just did with that, Leslie, so that everyone can do that as well?
Yes. So I
Yeah,
literally
pop off.
just took these pages here.
Hang on, let me
and
stop my share screen so that you can, how do I do this? Stop share so that you can be a little bit bigger.
all right, I'll just show you the first page because honestly, it's a little identical. I took these pages out of the workbook. I know what I want to hit personally for me a month, and then I was trying to figure out just now. I am listening, but I have ADD, so I have to do something while I listen to you guys. Or else, like,
no, this is what I wanted you guys to be doing. Yes. No, we've just been
Okay.
jamming. You're good.
I know that in January tends to be a little slower, so my goal is a little lower. I know December is really busy, so the goal is a little higher. I know what I
Love.
want to hit for the year for me. I was just trying to figure out the numbers for the salon as a total. So then I know that whatever that month of this number includes what I want to hit. So then I know in July, it tends to be really slow for us. So I know what the bare minimum of what I need to hit and the salon needs to hit for us to not go negative. So that is the goal. And also everybody takes time off in July. The girls do, we do. August tends to be a little bit of that too. So I literally just took down the big number, and instead of dividing it equally towards all the months, just figured out what it was.
Yep.
I did this last year as a whole for the salon, and then put it on where I track my numbers. And so the sheet just automatically told me how far off I was from that goal every month. And then I would just have to figure out where else to put it so that I still hit those goals.
Now, is there a way, sorry, I just love reverse engineering. Is there a way we can break that down even further? So then when the month rolls
Weekly,
around,
daily, yes.
are
yes,
you
yes.
gonna divide that into 4, or are you maybe gonna do what Ashley does, see what projected totals are for the month, see how far off you are? What's your plan even more?
So then I will probably look at so we know, or I should say not we know, most people, you're pretty good for a 10% increase every year. So I could always look at what we did this year in these weeks. And I think day is a teeny bit too nitty gritty until you're like in that month.
Until that day is right in front of you. Because you could have cancellations, things could happen. Yeah.
Correct. But I think you can still do it based on weeks and based on the amount of days that you work. So then you can very much put this all into a spreadsheet. I use a KPI spreadsheet that Angie Mamone gave me inside of BTE.
Shout out to Angie.
Yes, shout out to Angie. It spits things out like that for me and then tells me how far off my goal is. Inside of my numbers tracking for my bookkeeper, I have where we track the monthly numbers. It'll tell, like, the formula tells me how far off we were. And then I can figure out per month where I need to adjust and where I need to put the rest of that number. So I still hit those goals.
Love. Paloma said this all literally makes me makes my face want to melt off. Paloma, can we dive into that? Because as someone,
I would love to have a conversation with her.
I will say I'm not someone that this comes natural to either, but the more and more I've learned, the more I become empowered by these conversations. And I want to help you get over that hump of melt my face off. I feel stupid. I want to die. I want to crawl and I don't like this, to I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit overwhelmed, but I'm empowered with learning this.
Yeah, I would love to do that. I would love to get there. I've tried everything. I've tried paying someone else to do it. I've tried asking. I've tried reading, and there's certain things don't feel aligned to me. I'm really good at saving when it comes to like I want to go to Disney World. How much do I need? Cool. I got to put this away. And I'm good with that. But when it comes to all this other stuff that I'm out of control with, whether or not I have clients or more goals, we want to buy a house, and what I make now doesn't cover any of that. I don't know how to make my money work for me. I don't know how to, like, how much I'm even supposed to hit. I'd like to make it that 100,000 or whatever, but when we did the math, it's even if you were booked out, you wouldn't make that.
With
Like,
your current prices and your current
yeah. So
Can I
all of that
jump in
stuff.
for a minute?
Leslie, jump in, then Ashley, jump in.
You need to attach the doing this work to those things. So you like planning out and saving money for Disney, right? So then you need to attach that to this. If I do this much money, then I know that I can afford to hit this goal. And so then what you could do is sometimes the start of not knowing what you look at the year before and then just add 10%. It's small. It gives
Which
you
you
a
were
small
able to do
win.
this last year, Paloma. I know you
Yes. And
significantly,
so then you figure out the things that I was going to say. Lisa probably knows more intricate about the things that you could do, but you then look at the things that you could do as far as like increasing, is it time for a price increase, the add-ons, those types of things. Yes, there's a part of your business that isn't controlled as far as like cancellations and things like that, but you also have to be open to the possibility of, okay, I had this cancellation, so do I use this time to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, or a way to reimburse myself for that lost income? Do you instead invest in marketing so that you get more people, so then you increase your demand so that you can increase your prices?
I wholeheartedly agree. And Paloma, I have to call you when I hear deep ingrained identity mindset stuff. When you saying I can't control when I'm booked out, I can't control cancellations, that's the victim mentality versus the creator mentality. I'm not saying you have a victim mentality, but that's when I would say, oh, yes, I can. And if I can't get someone in, I can do something that is moving the needle forward that over time compounds and makes a difference. And you do have proof of that. You've been doing that for the last years.
do it.
You have proof of it. So watch what comes out of your mouth. I know it wants to melt your face off. I think as your income continues to grow, I would say for me, I actually did become more empowered once I had enough money to work with. It's very discouraging, which I know you're getting there. I know your numbers. You're getting up there now, but it is very discouraging trying to make a budget and there's not a whole lot to even put in certain buckets.
That, and also it's, oh, you need to invest in something. I'm like, cool, with what? I don't have enough right now that I'm comfortably cool with paying someone to do. So that puts me in a, well, then I need to do it.
I think you need to do at least $50 a month to Roth IRA. You can find $50 that gets blown somewhere. That I do think you can do. Not a lot, but at least $50 I think you have to start with, because compound interest is bonkers. And what can happen literally just with $50, the earlier you start, what compound interest does is wild. Ashley's got her hand raised. Pop off, Ashley.
Does it work now?
Yeah, it does.
Praise. Okay, so the first thing I was going to say is in the money mapping, I now also map if they've left me a review, where it is, if they've bought product before, if they need refills, things like that. So you can go back and do that. But adding into what you were saying about, oh, this all makes me freak out. That's why I started this. I am an Enneagram 7. Money and taxes and all that is a hard thing for me. I don't want to do the hard stuff. But on the flip side, and Lisa can tell you that, knowing me for the
Paloma's an Enneagram 7 too. We're all cut from the same cloth.
Lisa, knowing me, knows I also like numbers and I like science and I like knowing that side of things. And so having my own creative control over the way my numbers worked made it fun for me. So using, and like I said, Lisa, I'll do another mastermind video if you want, especially because I designed a new planner to work with the way
We have
I'm
master classes booked till March right now. That should be April's master class.
That'll give me a few months to play with the new planner anyways. But utilizing it this way. So like you said, you're really good. Okay, we're going to go to Disney. I need to save X amount to go to Disney. Cool. I got a kitten this year. I knew I needed to save X amount for this kitten. You have to find a way to make it fun to hit a goal for yourself in your business. So if it excites you to say, I'm a six-figure stylist, even if you're only saying that in gross, or if it excites you, like whatever the next level is. So if you're a $50,000 stylist right now and hitting a goal of, I'm going to be a $75,000 stylist, don't get caught up in the net or the gross or anything like that. Just pick a number that sounds fun, and then we'll map it backwards. I'd be more than willing to get on a Marco and map it backwards with you to make it fun so you can do it this way, because that's how I had to start. Now to the point where, like Lisa knows, if I'm off, I can get down to the penny of where I'm off and know it's because, okay, this one client canceled and this is what screwed me all up for this whole entire month.
And I think, Paloma, it also comes down to patience, which I suck at. I think all Enneagram 7s suck at. You have been showing up consistently. I think you said on Marco Polo, what, 2.5 years now? And you have seen growth. It just is annoying when you're paying such close attention to it and you don't get that instant gratification. You have to play the long game and wait it out. And so we're just also here to remind you to keep playing the long game and waiting it out, because you are seeing growth year over year, which is great. Got a couple things in the Facebook group. Shelbs said, I read the book Financial Feminist and it unlocked so many money blocks for me. And then weirdly enough, Leisha said, my aunt was just showing me this book last night and it looked really interesting. I'm going to have to pick this up. So Financial Feminist, apparently we all need to read because that's very interesting. Melissa gave me a bunch of questions over on Facebook. 4 questions to go from disempowered to empowered. Oh, okay. So it's journal prompts almost. Is this thought absolutely true? No, because this person achieved it. How does this make you feel believing the thought is true? 3, how would you feel if the opposite was true? How would you show up? What actions would you take? 4, new thought and new belief, rough outline, but this formula gives a tangible way to change each limiting mindset. I want to go back up to the chat because I left off with Anna, I think it was. She said, I have a crystal clear plan on how I want to spend my time while we're in retirement, and it involves working and volunteering. Anna, I know you have your camera off, but do you want to share more about that? Because I really do enjoy this conversation. Only if you're available. Anna might have like babies all around her. We'll see.
Yeah.
So tell us.
So I love to travel. And when my husband and I are retired, I would like to go and live in different cities around the world for 2 to 3 months at a time, right? Like however long we could get like visas for. But when we're not traveling, I may still work. Like I'm definitely not going to take that off the table. But I know I definitely want to spend some of my time volunteering in NICUs as a baby snuggler.
I was just talking about Nova, but that really is your prime place of being. That's precious.
Oh my gosh, I love newborn babies. I love them so much, and I just want to snuggle all of them. That's not really a realistic thing right now. Yeah, I have a vision for that, and I know that I need money and to live comfortably as retired. I just want to work for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the conversation we need to be having, because I do think there are just some people, whether they heard their parents say it, whether they decided, if it's just the sake of being defiant, like Mel said, sometimes we just need to shift what retirement even means so that we're not so against it. In the chat, Samantha said, is it still possible with your current schedule, Paloma, and prices if you focus on adding services and retail to help you increase your average ticket? Is that something we can double down on and be better at, or does it feel like you're doing that pretty well?
Add-ons are really good. Retail is the salon, so I can't really earn anything with that.
Okay.
But the add-ons do fairly well. Probably 2 out of 4 clients will do something, and I've been trying to talk about it. That's good. I feel like I don't want to expect it, but if I had more extension clients, I think that would also help. And I am getting like more new guests and things like that. It's just follow through is where it's the break right now. It's like I'm getting the requests, they're filling out the forms, but they're not booking. I'm doing the texts, the follow-ups, all. So and working on doing consistent social media. I just feel like the money part right now, what I'm seeing is not what I feel my work has warranted, which means to me there's a break somewhere in that I'm not managing it well or understanding what I'm doing and messing it up. No, like in terms of my income, I think some of it is pressure with what we want and seeing like how much work I've been putting in. Shouldn't be that I'm like freaking out that there's only $300 in my account. Like, why is that? Why is that happening? I earned more this year. I did this, that, and the other. It doesn't make sense because maybe I'm doing something that I'm not aware of. So I need to be aware.
Yeah, and I think each year deciding what it is that we're going to explore and continually being a student and continually learning. And there's always more to learn. So it's not, no, you're doing everything perfect. No matter how hard you're working, it is wild how it feels like the results are not what. And it just makes you really respect other people's work ethic that really have built something big and insane and incredible, because you're like, man, this shit is hard. You just really realize it and respect what other people are doing. I remember it back in the day, back when I wasn't making any money. I remember my father-in-law saying, I never thought I'd be making as much as I'm scraping by on now. And that's just the truth. I hate even affirming that into the truth, but I do think that bar is always growing and there's never going to be too much to be made. So I think it's also just having other conversations with people and wrapping your head around like the lifestyle creep, they call it. There's all these different things, but I think a lot of people are feeling the way you're feeling too, even if they're flashing, saying they're so abundant. I think that's a very normal feeling. Leslie said you only need 5 to 10 extension clients. Paloma said I have one right now, and over the last year, second one coming in today for her first install. Yeah. And then Samantha said up there, when you said you need someone to sit down and talk to you like a baby and work through it with you, she said, I'm sure there are many of us that will sit down and walk through it in baby steps. And I will say, during March, April, when Samantha has her little sessions, I think you should definitely take her up on that, because she is someone good to sit down and break things down into bite-sized pieces with you. Talk about Angie's spreadsheets. Again, shout out to her. We'll see if we can find that and if people can buy that spreadsheet from Angie. When I budget out money, I like to do percentages. So some things I do 5% of whatever I made each week into a savings account. My Roth IRA, I do a set dollar amount, but for vacations, a new car, fun money, etc., I do 5 to 10 or 5 to 15% of my week's income. That's like profit first kind of style. Yeah, Danny? I don't know. Yeah, Lucia always says profit plan it. And so you just take it off the top versus the other way around, waiting for there to be money left over. That's the same thing where I always talk about automatic savings, like with withdrawal or transfer. You're going to think that you don't have enough to do it no matter how much is sitting in your account. Sometimes you just have to set the automatic transfer. And it's wild when it comes off the top how quick that builds up over there. And God forbid you actually drain your account to zero, then you can always pull from that. But that's that profit first method where, you know, Mike talks about squeezing the toothpaste out. You make work that smaller amount and you behave a lot different when there's a smaller amount in that account versus plenty of room, and then you just start spending like crazy. Funny, since I am currently touched out of my own kids, Megan said. Paloma, something my husband told me recently when I was feeling down about where my business is at that really resonated with me was, I'm growing a tree. I can't skip the seedling phase and expect it to turn into a full-grown tree overnight. It takes a lot of time and patience. I don't know if that will resonate with you too, but I found it extremely impactful. Love this message.
And
You got tips for that? Leslie's got her finger. Go off.
So you use her to market. That's a benefit of, I have one girl that it's 18 months, 19 months that she's had hair in. That's unheard of, by the way. So then you use that as your social media post of, she follows my instructions. It's an amazing install, so that you use that as your marketing piece to get more clients. I do it in my notes, like all my client notes, when they need new hair. Some people just want new hair whenever, they don't care, but you need to also find some of those, because that's a quick. I have one client who she has to buy new hair every 6 months. She also gets bored, she wants a different look. But at the same time, you use that as a content piece of, look, most people can only get 6 to 9 months out of their hair. I have one client who, it's a healthy install, she's getting almost 2 years out of it. That's my story, but that's however that works for you. Sometimes it's just putting yourself out there and it builds the confidence. You tell the universe what you want and you attract more. You can ask Lisa. So it's
really cool.
And I found.
Yeah. And same thing, if you're going to sit down to money map for the week and you say, okay, so-and-so's coming in, and last time she came in, she didn't need new hair. So my plan is, if it feels more dry and like it might be time for new hair, I'm going to plant that seed. If it feels perfect and I'm blown away, I'm going to capture content in the moment while I'm blown away, but it's still sitting down and being intentional every single week before you meet with each client. Amy said, I'm so bummed I have to go, but these conversations are gold. I'm glad Amy said that, because I was a little worried that I didn't have enough content to fill, but every time I feel that way, we have an incredible conversation. So I just need to keep remembering. That quote just hit me hard. Which one was it, Ashley? Which quote hit you hard? Paloma said, the 5 bank accounts is what stops me. That's one of those things that doesn't align. Should we talk about some profit first stuff? What doesn't align, Paloma? Because that was, Paloma, I'm an Enneagram 7, and that's honestly when things changed for me, is when I finally implemented that.
It was a lot of like I've read the beginning up until that point like 3 times and it stopped until you do this. So I stopped. And
You know
I don't
what? I did that too. I read Profit First. I stopped. I never finished it. And then when I finally took Profit Lab with Lucia, even when she was initially teaching it, I didn't come to those calls. I was too busy, distracted. And then I finally just did it. And I'm telling you, it has greatly. So what's your holdup? What's stopping you? You just don't understand why you would
don't
do
want
it?
to manage that many. I don't want to have to drive to all these account places. I do better when everything's in one place. I want it all right there where I could see. And that's the point that he doesn't want you to do. I don't want you to have it next to each other because then it's too easy for you to do things. And I'm like, but that's,
And
so
that's how Ryan is too. And so I implemented Profit First in my business, and I told him we should do that with our house. We still haven't fully done it yet, but we did start that random savings account that I've talked about, that we have 250 auto draft a week, which is $1,000 a month. And Ryan, Lisa, there's no way we can do that. We're going to be pulling from it all the time. We've never pulled from it once, because you don't realize how quickly you spend an amount of money like that, and it just goes away. My personal account is at Regions. My business account is at this bank, CBC. That's a local one. They were the only one that wouldn't charge me fees for all those different accounts. I have been into CBC in person maybe twice ever. Everything is online. I have access to anything whenever I need it. We do have our personal emergency fund savings and an Apple savings account because it's high yield. And in the last year, we earned $1,000 in interest, which blows my mind. It's $1,000 free dollars that we did not have. So I think you just need to do it, Paloma. I think it might actually help. I don't know. Or don't, but you might be feeling the same way. Caitlin, you want to jump in? Megan, you want to jump in?
Yeah, Paloma, I actually had this issue too when I first started doing the Profit First kind of style. I don't adopt the entire program by any means. I looked into the prospect of getting 6 to 8 accounts or whatever they recommend, and I just wasn't willing to do that many, basically. So I did 4. So I had my personal savings, my personal checking, and then I had my business savings, my business checking. And I just left it as that. But what I did was I had a weekly spreadsheet that I actually just had on my notes app on my phone. And I would just calculate, okay, I made this much this week. And then I would do the percentages. That's basically what I would do is I'd say, okay, 5% of this week's earnings are set aside for like my profit account or whatever, but it was all still in the same account. So I think I have 6 different percentages that I would roll things into, but I was technically still only moving things between the 4 accounts. And then I could see everything right there too. The big differentiators for me was that I would at least make sure that I paid myself from my business account to my personal account. That one I really wanted separate. But all of my business percentages and stuff like that you would have in your profit account and all of that stuff, it would just go to business savings. And then at the end of the month, end of the quarter, however you want to do it, I would either divvy it up and move it from one account to the other, or I would just say, okay, this is what this is meant for, and just keep that tally basically. So I didn't have to have all of the extra accounts, but I knew what the money was for, if that makes sense.
okay, that kind of resonates a little better because I do have those 4 as well. The 2 personal, the 2 savings, and the 2 credit cards is what I got. And I do the same thing where I have a certain amount every week goes to bills and the other certain amount goes to business savings every week, all the time. I have $550 going every single week into those. So at least the basics are covered, but I don't have an amount that goes specifically like, this is your paycheck. This is how much you should be putting over or whatever.
Do you pay yourself a percentage, or do you just not pay yourself right now?
I don't pay myself. I just, if I run out of money, it's like, all right, here's $100 for the week for groceries.
I would, if I were you, at least decide on a percentage. I know it took my gross income getting up high enough for me to like give myself a true salary where every week it stays the same. It doesn't change. I just set it up on auto draft. But I do think that you should, because again, I think the way we behave and the way we spend money changes. And I don't know about your and Steven's situation, but I know when I started paying myself a very significant weekly paycheck that really added to our household, it just changed even the behavior in my household. Because it wasn't like my job was this like hobby of mine. It was like just as much supporting our household as his was. So that's a thought too. decide what that number can be. And even if it's just a percentage each week, but sitting down with it each week, I think could be.
Like,
So
do I need a
before I did a
baseline?
salary, I kept things so basic and so simple. And the OGs remember from back in the day when this was still the case, 30% went to a tax savings account, 50% moved into my personal account, and 20% stayed in my business account to go back into my business. Because I run a lean business, and you may think 20% isn't enough, but I keep things tight. Like, I'm not in business just for it to all go away and there not to be any profit. What's the point of that? So if it were me, that's what I would do. I would look at your week. How much did you make in services, retail, and tips? 30% goes to your tax savings account, your business savings account. 50% of that number gets transferred from your business account to your personal account, and then 20% stays in the account for when you have to spend. That's what I did for years before I got to the point where I implemented. I always felt confused, stupid. I hated that feeling where I don't feel that way anymore. I don't know exactly what changed, but it's just been intentional growth over the years. Megan, do you want to chime in? Your hand's up now, but I know you got little ones around you, so we might have lost our window.
No, I'm gonna try. I can't
Okay.
guarantee that
If they start screaming,
anyone's
it's
gonna
fine.
scream.
We don't care.
I think once figuring out your percentages, and then I was just going to talk about the multiple bank accounts. So I guess I break the rules. My personal and my business are at the same like bank institute, but they're separated. They're definitely personal accounts and business accounts. And then Paloma, I think you talked about wanting to open up a high yield savings account, right? So I love Ally. It's ALY. It's online only. So that can be your, oh, I can't drive to it kind of thing.
And Ally does savings buckets too.
I literally just have one personal savings and one business savings. And then I create, even in our personal, if we're saving up for a vacation, I have a vacation bucket, but it's technically all in the same savings account. So then it all pools for your max amount of interest on it. For my business, I have general business savings, taxes, and my profit. And I just have different buckets within that one account. So then you're not literally, oh, I have to open.
No, and it sounds like it's very similar to running a profit plan. Because do you set up auto drafts into these buckets, or do you manually do it, or how does that work?
I manually do it because I do it based off of a percentage. So I like run my numbers, figure out what the percentage is, and then transfer it over.
Okay.
But you could set it up I mean, they have automatic transfer. For our personal, like we have an automatic amount that just goes every month. But since business, I do 10% of this, 20% of that, then I just manually do it after I run my numbers.
Yeah. I've looked into Ally a lot and I haven't made the leap because of that. Just the comfort of sometimes if you need to run into a bank, it's there. But I've been using Apple savings account since it came out. And that's the one that's that like high yield that we learned so much interest in. And I haven't had any struggle with that, but it's not it's a account that you just set it and forget it, and I've never pulled out of it before. I just add to it. So yeah. All right, I have a client who buys hair so often it's weird. I can relate to this conversation so much. I would have never believed I would be making the amount of money I bring in now 20 years ago, but the struggle of daily life and expenses are real. I try really hard to be grateful and remind myself how far I've come, though, because I do know that it can be a lot worse than it is. Yeah, Amy, that's tricky. And I know your situation a little bit because you've opened up. And so I would, typically go mindset route with that and ask you to change that mindset. But I know that you guys are struggling with some debt just because of your husband's. So I would just say, Amy, what radical change needs to happen in 2025, even if it means you're really uncomfortable for a short period of time, so that you can finally because I know, Amy, even with the amount of money that you're earning, correct me if I'm wrong, if you were debt free, you would feel, I think, a lot better. And again, you guys have been listening to a lot of Dave Ramsey, and I don't like everything he says. And I know that probably makes some of you guys cringe, but what could you do just for the short term to really get rid of that debt this year once and for all, so that later you don't have to ever fucking deal with that or go into that ever again? Samantha said, I am the extension client that prefers new hair. I hate the way old hair feels when it's reinstalled. Anna said, this conversation is fantastic. Thank you for saying that. The quote about I never dreamed I'd be making the money, but still struggling. Yeah, Ryan's dad jokes about it all the time. He has all these quotes that he says, and he's the CEO of a billion-dollar company. Truthfully, Breakbush Brothers brings in over $1 billion a year. He makes a shit ton of money and he quotes that all the time. I never imagined I'd be making what I'm scraping by on now. And it's really real. I hate affirming it though, because I don't want to feel that way about money. But I think that goes to show you that no matter how much you make, you're either going to feel drained dry by your children or people in your life, or the sewer goes out. More money, more problems. It does happen. And I think sometimes, again, I think some people are so hush about money. And that's why I just love having these conversations, because it just sheds a light on, okay, it does feel like this. Sorry, guys, I'm so behind on the chat. I don't want to lose any really good comments. Profit First was a game changer for salon and home budget. 1,000%, Melissa said. All my accounts are at the same banking institution. So Paloma, I think you can do it your way. I have all my accounts in one credit union and it's super easy to move money around and manage. Then occasionally move my profit savings account into a high yield or investments. Love that. Alicia said, I actually feel the same as Paloma with the bank accounts. Having more than 3 always feels like I forget about them. I would say I have 9 accounts just in my business account. And then I have personal checking, personal savings, and another personal savings. So I have 12 accounts? I have a lot. And I do forget about some of them, but that changes my behavior. When one account gets big, I disperse it to other accounts so that I don't just start acting insane because that account's big and I've got money to blow. It goes in other places and then those kind of build up. And then when there's a random thing that I want to spend money on or a random bill appears, I can combine these few accounts. So I don't use all of them as much as I thought I would when I first made them, but something in my brain makes me behave different when I squirrel a little bit of money away in all these different places versus letting one account build up high. And I know we want to see that big number. Okay, Megan's clapping, so I'm not the only one. I know we want to see that big number, but I can do the math, or if I log in online, it tells me what all the accounts add up to, but my brain cannot handle seeing a number that big, or I'm going to start behaving in a different way. I don't know. We have some in the same place, but as I've gotten used to it, I want more individual accounts to plan better. At first, it was too much for me as well. It definitely took getting used to. Yeah, and here's what I have found. And even when I made an account in the beginning, you can always change the label of it. When I can decide, oh, I want to run Facebook ads in 2025, this account that I'm hardly using, I'm now changing the name of it to ads and I'm putting a certain amount of money in every week. And that's what I'm going to start using it for. So you never like wish you didn't have those accounts. And if anything, you just have another little place for some extra money to hang out and you can pull from and give to when you need to. Anna said, Lisa, can you write that basic breakdown and reshare later? What is that, Anna? The 30, 50, 20? I don't know where I should share that, but yeah, I'm assuming that's the basic breakdown you meant, Anna. I give myself a weekly salary plus
Okay.
tips. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when you were doing the basic breakdown of the retirement and then the compound interest a few minutes ago.
Retirement and the compound interest. Like if you just add $50 a month to it, is that what you mean?
Yeah, that part of the conversation.
So I don't know if I have that breakdown, but if you've ever played with a retirement calculator, do you guys like, are you familiar with what I'm saying when I say that or no? Are you completely?
Yes, yes.
Okay. If I Googled like compound interest and retirement accounts, it's wild what happens. So if you start investing from 25 and you put the same amount till you're 65,
yeah,
versus if you start at last 10 years is sometimes like millions of dollars. That's what, because as it grows, the interest compounds over time. So it's not like it's growing interest on that same amount you're putting in. It's growing interest on what that eventually becomes. And the earlier you start, is what makes that biggest difference. It's time. And so that's why I tell even if you just need to put $50 in, the best time you can start is yesterday because time is your biggest factor when it comes to saving for retirement and investing.
I think it was the calculator part that I missed.
I don't really have anything specific. I just think that time is more important than people realize. They say, oh, I'll do it. But you spend $50 on bullshit. So just start doing that right away. Megan said, for anyone that wants a referral link for Ally, I'm pretty sure you get $100 for opening from a friend. Well, Megan, why don't you drop your link in the Marco Polo group? No, I know I need to make some serious short-term sacrifices for the long-term gain for sure. I've been just having a come to Jesus moment myself for a little while now. And we're here, Amy, to hold that space and to have those hard conversations with you. And again, other things that other people have talked about. Sometimes we just wish that other people could get on board and have that conversation with us and help us make those hard decisions. But my borderline toxic independent mindset just says get there on your own. Paloma is debt free. I love that. She thinks Dave Ramsey steals joy, but only because I value experiences so much.
But he does. He's, oh yeah, that's not worth it. Don't spend on that. Like every time, sometimes I feel like it is worth it. If it's,
I don't know how much you listen to his content, but he says you live like no one else, so later you can live and give no one else. And he would probably even tell you, Paloma, if you are debt free, that you absolutely should be spending your money, saving your money, investing your money, and giving your money, generosity with your money. And I do believe in that. Jessica said the big number is almost worse for me because I'm like, look at all this money. I deserve treats. Absolutely. So that's what I think. And I remember you saying the same thing, Paloma. I said on a podcast that it was like such a mind fuck for me when my mother-in-law once said, find out what zero is for me and Ryan, because we'd have thousands of dollars and Ryan would say, we're broke, we can't do that, we're broke, we can't do that. And I'm like, stop saying we're broke, that's so bad. And we learned what zero was for both of us, and I realized zero is a very big number for him. His zero is mine. Let's book a vacation, we've got money to blow. Again, that's why my business, none of those accounts really get that high because they're all dispersed. It's not for everyone. I'm sure my CPA, my bookkeepers think I'm so fucking stupid and annoying because they have to do so much work with all my different accounts, but they do it and it works. So what can I say? NerdWallet has an easy retirement calculator, financial feminist. Okay, anyone have any other major questions, thoughts? Jessica, please. What are your thoughts right now?
Can you elaborate on the find your zero thing a little bit more? Because that really resonated with me, because my boyfriend is the exact same way, where it's like, he has all this money and investments and all that. And he's always like, I can't buy myself lunch. Like I should not spend $20 on that. And I'm like, buy yourself lunch. Like our zeros are so different. And I think we balance each other out a little bit because he can get me to save more and I can get him to have some fun. But like, I would like to become more unified on that.
Yeah, no, thank you for asking me to elaborate, because I wouldn't have, sometimes I feel like I'm a broken record and I'm annoying, but good to know that resonated with you and that's not something you've heard me talk about before. Okay, so for many years, especially when I was getting so law of attraction, like abundance, only speak abundant things, only think abundant thoughts, be free, what you spend will come back to you. Like when I was really in that like almost psychosis mode, I just was really trying to change my vocabulary and my language, and I became hyper aware of his language. Now it doesn't really affect me as much because I know what he means, but when I was like realizing that what you say out loud is written in stone now, and he would always say, we're broke, we can't do that. We're broke, we can't do that. We're broke, we can't do that. Like always. He still does it. That's just his behavior. With nothing about us is broke right now. It's just his behavior. It's just him saying, hey, just rein it in, because he knows I can go a little bit crazy. And he would say, we're broke. Ryan's stepmom was spending the night with me one night when the kids were young. Ryan was traveling for work. And again, I really look up to them financially, the way they spend their money, the way they live their life. There's some things I disagree with them on, but money is definitely, I find people that I aspire to be like, and I pick their brains. And I don't know what happened, but she was like on our bank account. I think there was something with us buying. I don't know what was happening, but like at that point we had $20,000 saved in our account. And back then that was like a lot of money. We were living in like an $80,000 house at the time. And Shelly goes, have you guys ever identified what zero means to you? I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, it sounds like to me, zero for you is $0. Like we are broke when we are broke. At the time, I'll say right now, Ryan zero, I now know at this moment in time, based on what our bills are, is $7,000. If we have less than $7,000 in our checking account, we're negative, we're broke, we have nothing, he thinks, because based on our bills, you never want, that's the cushion he needs to feel comfortable. And at the time, it was probably more like 4,000 or 5,000 or something like that. And I was like, I have never thought about that. So I don't know if I asked him or if I already knew that was just the number he wanted to land around, but we had that conversation, and now zero is the same for us because I know what it is for him. And so there are months when we're sitting more at 5 in our personal checking, but we both behave in a different way. We're not going out to eat quite as much. We're not, because technically we're negative 2,000 rather than $5,000. Does that make sense?
Can I ask you a personal question? You don't have to
Sure,
answer.
it's fine. Go ahead.
Do you guys combine your finances, or do you have your separate accounts?
Well, we've had our finances combined since before we were even married. And that also helps because we had nothing when we combined them. So we have grown together. I love talking to my clients behind the chair about this, like how everybody does their money different in their different accounts. Brian and I's is other than my business, he could access that account at any time. So we do. Do you guys combine or no?
We don't right now. We want to have one joint account, but keep our separates is where we're at. Like all the combined finances will go into that. I'm trying to convince Steven of that right now. And he's a little bit like, everything's in my name, just leave it. Just send me yours and I'll take care of it.
And that's such a personal thing. And I've talked with my clients about that too. And again, if you were asking just for my blanket advice, as if I was like your grandma or something, I would say, from my experiencing, combining when you have nothing, like combining when you have less is probably better. Because I can't imagine now, God forbid I were to ever get like divorced and remarried, I would probably not combine finances like I did, but we had nothing. So it was easier to grow that.
So we're
But then
working
I think
on
you guys decide what zero is in your joint account. And then you know what zero is in your account and he knows what zero is in his account. But I don't know.
I don't want you to tell me I can't spend my money on something, but maybe that's
Sure.
good. Maybe
I think that's more of a marriage conversation, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that. And so I think the way everybody finds that in between for them is different for everyone. And yeah, I can tell you what works for me, but I think it is going to be totally different for everyone. Absolutely. Jessica, does that answer your question about zero?
Yeah, for sure.
What his zero is?
It's a lot higher than mine. No, I think this will spark a really productive conversation because we don't share any accounts yet, but we're very in touch about each other's money. I look forward to talking to him about it. He'll be really into it.
Does anybody else have any other questions? We got totally off track from vision casting, but that is completely okay with me. I love this conversation. Anyone else have anything major? Any questions, any thoughts about what we were talking about, going back to what we were talking about originally? If not, I am thinking that we could break for about 45 minutes, 40 minutes. So that brings us to 12:30. And what I would love for everyone to do is finish this workbook, keep working through this workbook. If you didn't finish yesterday and all the areas of improvement and everything you want to add, do that. And then once you have all these things that you want to put on your vision board, taking that outcome goal versus habit goal and reverse engineering that, and then plugging that into the quarters of the year, the perfect week and the perfect day. And then around 12:30, we will get back on, and Yara, I have no idea what she's even going to share with us, but she's going to do something. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a little bit about astrology and like what the stars have in store for us for this year. And then she's going to do a little bit like manifestation conversation. How does that sound for everyone? Pretty good. All right, so we will meet back here at 12:30 Central. I'll probably be on a little bit early just so I can let Yara in and everything can work. And then we will do the manifestation training from there. Does that sound good? Leisha, am I forgetting anything or are we good? Cool. All right, we will meet back at 12:30 my time then.